of the view that regardless of what happens with these three players, it's probably a big window for Liverpool. Just as you said before, it can go on in a bit of detail, but Liverpool have had almost £100 million worth of Champions League revenue already this season.
Yeah.
They get to the later stages of the Champions League, it could be close to €200 million just for that participation, never mind the Premier League.
Well, if they don't renew them, it's going to be a massive window, isn't it?
Yeah.
You talk about before as money to replace them. Well, what are you looking at? You're probably looking at £200 million to replace them too.
Scholesy, we stayed at the same club, so we were in that position in terms of getting into our 30s, signing a new contract. I mean, how did it work with you? Was it always an extra year? Was it the same money? Did you have to drop the money as you got older?
No, I never had to drop the money. I think it was always near enough the same. It probably was the same, and it was 1 year's. I think once you get over 30, I think every club looks at that now. That's the way they do it. It's just you. But I think it's a little bit different now. I think in our time, 35, that was it. You were done. But now you're seeing players going to your 37s, 38s, 39s, 40s. And I think it's all right having all that info and that data that you're talking about, but your eye has to see it as well. I'm sure Slot, all his staff, and they'll be seeing them two training every day. And you just look at the bodies, you look at them, what are they, 32, 33? It looks to me like 2 years is not a problem. I think you said before, Dan, 2 years plus a year option is, and that year option is, it's not always in the club's favour. It can be in the player's favour as well. You talk about if you reach so many appearances, then yeah, that final year gets triggered. We get that now in lower league football in Salford. So look, the policy's always been there. Once you get over 30, year on year, and I can understand some people looking at me and the way I was, the way I played, I think a year's enough. But I'm looking at them players thinking, they could piss this for the next 2 years.
I agree. For me, I think because they're still so good now, I do think I understand what they've done for the club, but they're still so good right now that I don't think you could be offering them a year. It'd have to be 2. But listen, you talk about Ian Graham's book and the data that goes into it. I've read that book, but you're probably across it even more than me. If I was to ask you right now, with those 3 players, and knowing what you know about Liverpool's the way of going about things, who do you think will be playing at Liverpool next season?
Terrible betting man, but if I was going to go, I'd go Van Dijk, but possibly Trent. I think Trent's 50-50. I think Salah's more likely to go.
Okay.
More likely.
Didn't want to hear that.
And do you know what? Even if their form does tail off a little bit in the next year, the next 2 years, the value they add to that club for bringing young players into it is still invaluable, and you still probably get the value from that. You think of Van Dijk coming in, a young centre half coming to, right, he's going to show me what I need to do. Salah, I'm sure as well, would help different younger players coming in as well. So I think there's still value more than just the playing side of it.
But for you both as ex-pros, right, if you have a teammate who's in the final year of their deal, but they're a key player in their 30s, are you saying, come on, sign a new contract, you're a key player here?
Nah.
Okay.
Well, I never got involved in that. We had a situation with Roy, actually. Roy was coming right up to the end of his contract. I think even from the January time, he's talking to the clubs, but it's not your business. As much as you want them to stay, you don't really talk about it. It's their life. They've given so many years. Van Dijk and Salah have been brilliant. If they want to go, then I don't think anybody would be slagging them off and begrudging them. I think Trent's a little bit different because he's a young player. But no, look, it's there. You just get on with it.
There's another really big one as well, Jamie, which you'll know as well, is as that contract weans its way down into the summer, the injury risk issue becomes, I think, a really, really big deal as well, especially for the slightly older players. God forbid there's an ACL injury for any of them, but the older boys especially. Which club is going to decide to take anyone on a 2 or 3 year extension? Like we saw with Matip, for example, great servant for Liverpool, does his ACL, not getting any renewal because they know it would be another 8 or 9 months. So
that's from the players' point of view, though, isn't it? They have to,
yeah.
More from the players, because they're thinking, look, I'm coming to the end of my contract here. If I get injured now, and that all of a sudden that year or 2 year contract's gone, what am I going to do? Am I not get paid again for the next 2 years? So I think the player-wise as well, you've got to have a bit of comfort in yourself that you're going to be.
And Liverpool with Edwards and Hughes as well. Their number 1, 2, and 3 line, I can only imagine, has to be, the team is set up for you. The whole reason we talked about before, Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones on that right side, is to make sure that Salah doesn't have to track back too much. In the same way, you have Konate alongside Van Dijk, who isn't quite as quick as he used to be.
I look at it in a bit like I'd be gutted if Liverpool didn't sign him, but I'd also look at the players and thinking, why haven't you signed? It's a bit like this is the. And I'm not just saying because Liverpool. It's just like sad, as you say, the team's made for him. He's loved. Where are they going to go? Even though these are two of the greatest players, other clubs probably aren't going to pay them that much money. This time and give them a long contract. I don't think anyone in Europe does that now. We're talking about Saudi. I just can't see Salah doing that. He's too driven. He's too much of a winner. I just don't. I think Salah can go there when he's 37, 38. I think he can play.
Has he been offered a contract categorically, Salah?
Yes. Do not believe that he hasn't been offered a contract.
Yeah.
I can absolutely assure you he will have been offered a contract.
So signing on fees become big carrots for a lot of these players as well. When you can go on a free transfer and you don't have to put 30 million up and you can pocket that 20, 30 million.
You know what I'd love, right? Because I'd love to, we can't, but I'd love to know the details of, like, years ago, things would come out in the press, wouldn't they? You know, if there was like a bit of the club would feed something, well, he wants this much or something, and then the fans would always go, how much, you know, I'd love to know, and then we could almost go, well, Mo Salah's right, he should be given a 2 years, or you can go, is he taking the piss?
I was just thinking about, like, maybe 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, showing my age a bit, but used to always hear about tapping up, see some grainy images of players meeting some chief exec somewhere. And nowadays, it's never really spoken about, but we always hear that clubs have agreed terms with a player before they've even agreed a fee with their club and stuff. Is tapping up just more accepted now? I know it kind of just popped up recently. There was it City were getting spoken about because they kind of made a young kid like potentially break his contract with his club. But is tapping up just accepted?
Is he breaking the rules again?
Again, 116 now.
Well, you have the infamous Ashley Cole case back in the day, and that was for particular
Real meeting Kenyan as well.
Yeah, exactly.